Testing, testing. Testing 1, 2. Testing. And set mic. Testing 1, 2. There we go. Hello, everybody. Testing 1, 2. There we go. How's it going, everybody? Yes, I'm feeling okay. I'd a little bit better. Got still dealing with some back issues, but I had back surgery last Wednesday, which is why I wasn't here on Tuesday. Kind of had to postpone that. But everything seemed to have gone well, and I feel like I'm on the mend, but we'll see. You guys, if you want to go to Alan's website, feded.us, you can download the first 5 modules for free. The remainder are $7. And that'll help you follow through with what Alan's going to do. He's got, I dug on it. I can't remember how many modules there are. There's 18 modules. First 5 are free. We're probably going to get through to 6 or 7 today. Hey, Alan. Stand by. Let me get you another one. Hold on a second here. Yeah, that's kind of odd. Let me. Yeah, let's see here. Link. What's your email address again, real quick? We are. Gotcha. Check your email. You're in. Okay, bye. You're welcome. All right, Alan is here. Alan, welcome, sir.
Back here.
Right on.
It's a nice room you got.
Thank you. It's my constant. It's my Liberty or Independence Hall.
Damn nice.
Well, I'm gonna have to turn you down, boy.
Okay.
My volume. No, it's not you. That's me. My volume settings are way loud. So, how are you?
Good. Ready to I was usually before I start, I listen to some music, what I would call appropriate music.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the songs I really like, the musician is Radney Foster. It's called
Okay.
Angel Flight. Very heavy song.
Let me see if I can. Okay. I've got that queued up. I'll play it when I left the C-130.
Yeah.
I see that. Okay.
Yeah. They're bringing the fallen home. That's why it's called Angel Flight.
Gotcha. Tiffany, my back is good. My back is better. I'm not in nearly as much pain. I'm answering Tiffany. She asked me about how my back was. Guys, again, just to reiterate, I don't know, some of you guys have come in a little bit later. If you go to the description, of the video, you should see a link to feded.us. Alan here is going to be teaching us the ins and outs of the Federal Reserve in 18 modules. We're going to try to get through about a third of them today. The first 5 on his website are available at no charge. The 6 through 18 are
well, actually,
$7.
the entire Fed Ed is all in one package. Yeah, okay. You can get the first 5 for free, but if you want the whole thing,
right?
Yeah,
it's yeah, exactly. And that was what I said. People can follow along with the first 5, but they're not going to get any. They won't get the true benefit of what we're doing without the modules will really, or the paperwork will really help them follow along. They'll get much more out of it. So, and $7 is a small price to pay. Very small price.
Big for me.
Well, that's because you're an accountant.
Well, anything helps.
Indeed. I gotta turn my phone off. I normally have it off anyway. So I like your background, by the way.
Thank you. No, it's not real.
Oh, I know that. I know that.
It works for me.
Now, where are you in San Diego?
I'm in San Diego.
Okay. So it's whereabouts in San Diego? If you don't want to share it.
No, okay. I don't mind. I mean, I'm relatively coastal.
Okay.
So what was interesting about this last summer? Yeah, we actually had one. I'm used to in my house during the summer, I'll have to open all the windows, including the top ones. Maybe actually put a screen in the attic to help vent, because there'll be a few days a week that gets really hot. This summer, with windows open, no AC, the warmest it ever got in my house twice was 80.
Wow.
The normal, it usually didn't get over 78. And I'm thinking, what happened to summer?
Yeah.
But then again, I know in San Diego, the county has what they call microclimates. You go 10, 15 miles inland in the summer, it's smoking hot.
It is very, very, very hot.
And then you got the local mountains, basically hills. And then you climb over those and you wind up in the desert.
That's right.
So we got everything in San Diego, but it was not warm this summer.
California, people who don't live here, they don't understand the diversity of the climate zones in California. I mean, we have, in one day, you literally can go from this absolute sand dunes to a snow-capped mountain to a beach. You can do that in like under 4 hours.
Oh yeah. You can be in local mountains. I mean, in Southern California, you could be in the local mountains in the morning, in the winter, ski, get in your car, stop for something to eat, and long before the sun sets, you can be in the ocean.
Exactly. It's I always tell people that California is not nearly as blue as people want to, as they try to make it out to be. And I do believe California is going to come roaring back when we get all this stuff fixed, and in a very big way. It's just it's too good to be pinned down.
Based on the people I've been meeting, including yourself, Ron, over the last few years, and what I'm working on doing, I absolutely agree. It's that the ones that are really generally in the news are very anti-constitutional. I don't do left or right, up or down. I don't care about parties. I care about the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence. That's the straight and narrow. And if we need to change it, fine, let's work on it. But don't just willy-nilly do things. There are some people, especially in Hollywood, very notable, who are more in line with that, and not in line with the common attitude. And frankly, I don't need any government, federal, state, or local. I don't need any government to tell me to help someone else.
That's right.
I was not raised that way.
Well, it's the thing that I find very odd, the hypocrisy is that, you've got a lot of these people who want us to pay taxes so that we can help all the poor people, that they don't realize that the people are getting charity one way or the other. Now, whether they're getting charity from the government or getting charity from private institutions, churches, what have you, they're still getting charity. But what they just seem to think that if the charity is run by the government, there's not going to be any corruption, which is just mind-boggling to me.
Oh my! Sorry for the cattail.
That's all right. But you know what I'm saying? It's like, well, we can only have one, and that one that we have is not going to be any. There's not going to be any corruption there. So it's just like, I don't understand that logic. But well, give me 1 second, Alan.
Sure.
Hello, guys. Yes, I just because I know some of you are asking about me and my health, and everything is okay. I had a back surgery last week, and I'm on the mend. I'm still recovering a little bit, but things are a little bit better, and just wanted to address that real quick. So
good news.
We have a special guest today in Alan Myers. Alan is a good friend of Mr. Constitution, Doug V. Gibbs. Exactly. So and he comes on his show from time to time down the. Don't you do his stuff, the show on the radio?
On the radio, which is KMET 1490 AM on Saturdays, 1 to 3 p.m. You can catch it on the web. I am usually there as a regular guest on Saturdays. I've guest hosted 30 times.
Nice.
So
So he's not a newbie when it comes to doing stuff like this. And Alan is, from what I understand, Alan is not he's not really, he's a political atheist. He doesn't have he doesn't have a dog in the fight. He's just he's kind of like he said earlier. He's his guide is the Constitution, which I think, if as a political atheist, if you're going to choose anything as a guide, the Constitution is probably the very best document that you can use as a guide. But he is.
Can I say it slightly differently?
Sure, by all means.
Thank you. I'm not an atheist, as in I'm not a non-believer of politics. My politics is the Constitution, and my dog in the fight is the Constitution.
Very well said.
It is absolutely, positively, and I don't like to say this, it is under attack. It's actually been under attack since right after the ink dried on the last signature.
Amen. Yes.
Thank
People
you.
don't know that.
Thank you, Alexander Hamilton, and your implied powers.
Oh.
It's. I mean, I could go on and on, but we're going to get to basic monetary system education.
Yes. So again, just to reiterate, guys, Alan and I are going to go through we're going to go through his 18 modules over the next 3 weeks. We're going to try to get through about a third of them today. You can go to feded.us. You can download the first 5; they're free. Or you can get the entire packet, which is $7, which is a small price to pay for what we're going to get here. And you'll get. I'm going to turn the floor over to. I'm going to give it to Alan, and we're going to get on the road.
Thank you so much, Ron. I always open my presentations or discussions with thank yous because I don't want to forget them. So first, thank you, Ron, for having me on.
My pleasure.
And thank you to Doug Gibbs, who got me connected. And finally, to all the people listening in today. It's just not the same without you. So thank you for being here. I deal in what I call basic monetary system education. The emphasis is basic education. And then you can put anything else in there. This is not heavy. This is not techie. This is not overwhelming. Now, some of this will be new to people, which may make it feel like it's overwhelming or it's just really new. But this is ABC 1, 2, 3. This is information that I've acquired through self-study. I didn't get this in college. This is something that actually belongs, I think, in high school education. I like to open with a quote, and this because it sets the framework or the idea behind what we're going to do today. And this part of the quote comes from Kissinger. I'm no fan. He said, oil, I'll say energy. When you control energy, you control a country. He said, when you control food, you control people. A friend and I, Darren and I, came up with, when you control data or information, you control minds. So the overlay is this. When you own and control the monetary system of a country, you will own and control energy, food, data. What could go wrong? Next, for me, there are 3 questions that are always on the table. They're always there, whether they're asked or not. They're in the back of somebody's mind. And it comes to me like this. Alan, why should I care? Alan, what's in it for me? Alan, what's the call to action? Why care? Well, do you like inflation, taxation, federal taxation, and unpayable Ponzi scheme national debt? If you don't like them, that's why you should care. What's in it for you? To learn how we get rid of them. And the call to action, that will be in module 17. As Ron introduced me, friend of Doug Gibbs, Doug is all about the Constitution, thankfully so. For me, and this is one of the ways we work well together, I've come to understand the Constitution is the prize. This is what is being taken from us. This is what is intended to be taken from us. The Constitution's prize. Ownership and control of the monetary system is the tool that will rip it out of our lives. That's why basic monetary system education is so important. Now, unfortunately, I can't do this, but on the front cover of FedEd is a hydra. And the reason I chose this creature is it comes from a quote from Andrew Jackson. I'm not necessarily a big fan of his either, but he, in referring to the second US bank run by Nicholas Biddle, which he helped prevent the recharter of, he referred to it as a hydra-headed monster eating the flesh of the common man. I really like that. Now, for those who may not know, a hydra is a mythological creature, multiple heads sitting on multiple necks. And the mythology says, trying to keep my cat out of the screen, the mythology says, if you cut off one head, two will grow back, which means you can never defeat the hydra, the source of the problems. Each head is a problem. It's serious, potentially lethal. You'll never defeat the hydra by going after just a head. You have to take the hydra. And the way you take the hydra is you have to take its sole source of power, its heart. And what you'll learn in module 16 is how to take the heartbeats of the hydra. That just sets you up. And thank you for telling the audience about feded.us. A friend of mine just sent me this quote 10 minutes before we went on, so I'm going to read it. It's Greek or Roman, and I cannot pronounce the last name, so I'll spell it. Thucydides. The secret to happiness is freedom, and the secret to freedom is courage. Let's begin with module 1. In the first 15 modules, each one, if you get the pamphlet, hope you do, each module is, the first 15 is 1 page long. 1 page, 1 topic. Every module opens with a quote. Module 1 is origin and development of money. I'm going to go through module 1. Then if there's any if there's any questions after, Ron will let me know. If not, we'll move on to module 2. Module 1, origin and development of money. Here's the quote. It, referring to money, is the most important subject intellectual persons can investigate and reflect upon. It is so important that our present civilization may collapse unless it is widely understood and its defects remedied very soon. This came from a man named Robert H. Hemphill. He was the credit manager of the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta in 1936. Think about this. This guy is living with the beast, the Federal Reserve System. He says this is the most important subject intellectual persons can investigate. And we're going to have a problem if we don't remedy the defects. I think that's an interesting statement from someone who actually worked at one of the Fed banks. To me, the upshot of money, one is people get, and we're going to get into this in module 2, but I'll start here. Think about this. When it comes to money, and right now I'm using the term money in a very general term. When we get to module 4, I'm going to be very specific about that word. But right now it's just a general term. What is more important with money? What it is, gold, silver, cryptos, whatever, or what it does? What it does is it facilitates, makes happen peacefully an indirect non-bartered transaction. If whatever is being used as money gets the job done, it's money, it's real, and it worked. I don't get caught up in gold, silver, this, that, diamonds, rubies, whatever. And who came up with this concept of using something? Terms for it are items of barter, mediums of exchange. I'll just use the term money. Who came up with this? Did banks come up with this idea? Did governments? Or did our planetary ancestors? Our planetary ancestors came up with it because they knew that direct barter was slow, time-consuming, often unsuccessful. The point is, our planetary ancestors bequeathed to us this concept. This concept belongs to us, not our governments, not banks. When you have money, an item of barter, a medium of exchange that allows you to do trade without direct barter, well, they found out you can go over a wider and wider area. You can start trading outside your little area. And yes, as trading began over wider and wider areas and people started sharing more and more things, what happens? Well, you may change what is money, or you'll realize in one area this works, another area another thing works. But the other beautiful part about having money, the indirect transaction facilitator, is you can begin to specialize in what you do, because you don't need to do everything. And when you can specialize in one type of trade or one type of good or one type of service, you can get better and better at it, and maybe be able to sell more and more. So the takeaway for me is this, that people, our planetary ancestors, those that came before us, they created the concept, not banks, not governments. This concept belongs to us. And it's a fabulous concept because it allows us to do complete transactions over greater and greater distances for basically everything we want, and we can specialize. Any questions, Ron? I can't hear you. You're muted.
I muted myself so that sorry. I don't see any questions, guys. If you have any questions as we go along, please ask. Please make sure that you fire them off so I can relay them. We generally we're going to do a Q&A after each module. So I'm guessing that's basically the end of module 1.
That is the end.
All right. So we're going to move on to module 2.
Okay, thank you. Module 2, historical characteristics of money. This kind of falls off of 1. And the quote is, I think this is very applicable. Money is worth what it will help you to produce or buy and no more. Henry Ford, My Life and Work. Now there's a guy who knew how to make a few coins. And the idea, the reason I want to talk about the characteristics of what has been money in the past is that these are, and most of these I got from my research. I've added a few. But if something was going to be a successful form of money, it had to have most or all of these characteristics. And one reason to talk about these characteristics is to compare them to cryptos or Bitcoin. And the reason I bring this up is, I think it was 2018 or 2019. It's called the Soho Forum. And I saw this episode online. It's in Soho, New York. And it was a discussion or debate between Eric Voorhees. He ran big Bitcoin exchange, and Peter Schiff, a Wall Streeter. And they were going to go after it about, Bitcoin or cryptos. Eric went first. And very early on, Eric made a statement that really surprised me. He said, he's referring strictly to Bitcoin. Bitcoin has all the characteristics. Well, actually, he used the word attributes, but has all the characteristics of good money, supremely good money. And I'm thinking, that is one hell of a statement to make. Did he ever describe all the supremely good attributes that Bitcoin has that makes it supremely good money? No. Peter Schiff could have taken him down on this one issue, and he never touched it. Let's touch it today. I have come up with, from my research and then the ones I've added, 12 different, I use the word characteristics, 12 different characteristics that help make something usable as money. I'll tell you what they are, I'll talk about it, and I'll tell you whether I think Bitcoin has it or not. Ultimately, maybe I can find it. Ultimately, I'll save the guess. Bitcoin doesn't even have half of these. Character, and this is just in a somewhat of a random order that I found. Characteristic 1, transportable. If you can't lug it to market, you can't trade with it. Transportable, Bitcoin's transportable. Dividable. The more pieces you have of something, the more easy it is to trade with it. For example, if you're going to compare, let's say, a tomato to an orange, what is more easy to divide? The orange. That's nature's perfect little round money. Just take the peel off and you can divide it into pieces. Dividable. Yes, Bitcoin is dividable. Non-perishable. If it goes rotten on the way to your market, it's not any good. Bitcoin's non-perishable. Wanted. If no one wants it, like beach sand, you're not going to ever use beach sand. It isn't going to happen. Wanted with Bitcoin's a maybe. Scarce in supply. If it isn't scarce, like beach sand, once again, it's not going to be wanted. It's not going to be very useful as money. People talk about that, and I'm going to pull this from memory. I think there's like 21 million Bitcoins that are going to be mined. Okay. And that's it. That's it. Oh, wow, that's scarce. Well, not quite. Every Bitcoin can be divided into 100 million Satoshis. Yeah, they used his name, which means you got 2.1 quadrillion Satoshis. I don't consider that scarce. Interchangeable. If somebody owes you a nickel, dime, quarter, dollar bill, you'll take any one. So the more interchangeable it is, the more easy it is to use. Bitcoin interchangeable? Yes. Unit of account. Unit of account is where something is priced in a certain amount, dollars and cents. No, almost nothing is priced in Bitcoin. So I'll say that that's a no. Store of value. Store of value relates to inflation / purchasing power. This is one of the problems with inflation. We lose purchasing power. But if your money holds its value, holds its purchasing power, that's fantastic. What's going on with Bitcoin? The price is all over the place. Store of value? Not really. Not consumed. This is number 9. That is, something can be money even if it's not consumable, such as metals. So it doesn't have to be nuts and berries. Not consumed, Bitcoin, that's it. Last 3, legal tender status. If you look at a Federal Reserve note, it will say good for all debts, public and private. And that refers to its legal tender status. The interesting thing about the legal tender status is that in my research, I found out that just because it's legal tender doesn't mean it has to be. There's no federal statute that requires someone to accept it. Now, Bitcoin does not have legal tender status, but legal tender status doesn't mean really what we think it means. And that's why if you went to some convenience store late in the evening or early in the morning and they've got a sign nothing bigger than a 20, they can do that legally because they don't have to accept your bills. Bitcoin does not have legal tender status. Physical counterpart. We're going to get really into this in module 10 when I start talking about a cashless monetary system. Not having a physical counterpart like we have. We have cash and coin, and we have the electronic digits in checking accounts and other types of banking accounts. If you don't have a physical counterpart, you are totally dependent on the electronic system, the electrical system, the grid, and will you or will you not get locked out of your account? Bitcoin has no physical counterpart. I think that's a huge limitation. And finally, ease of use. I think we've all gotten pretty comfortable taking bills out of our wallet or pocket and coins and exchanging them and giving them to the cashier. It's pretty darn easy to use. How easy is it to use Bitcoin? Well, you got to have a 60 alphanumeric private key, or you can't access your Bitcoin. Some years ago, not too many, a man in Canada who was running a Bitcoin exchange died, God rest his soul. And there's an old saying, you can't take it with you. Well, he did. He took the exchange private key with him. Everybody got lost out. The upshot of all these characteristics is it gives you an idea what people back in the day were thinking about, processing, determining what was going to work in their time period for money, that facilitator of an indirect transaction. And the upshot is Bitcoin and the other cryptos don't even have half of them.
That's into number one.
That's
two, rather.
That's two.
Okay, so I'm gonna I'm a crypto guy.
Oh, goody! All right.
Well, we'll save that conversation for another day. But I'm gonna
Okay.
respectfully disagree with a few of the things that you put on there, specifically ease of use. I know that initially the ease of use was really difficult.
Yeah.
Nowadays it's actually much easier because things are going to the QR codes, and it's very easy to scan a QR code. And if you're custodying your wallet on a phone, it's a very simple process. And I know they're actually making inroads into being able to do transactions with cryptocurrencies offline, to where you don't actually need the internet to do that. But to your point, I understand everything that you said there. I understand it. Jody says she doesn't trust Bitcoin, and I actually do trust Bitcoin, and I'm going to respectfully disagree with a few of the things that you said in terms of wanted. I do believe when you look at the digital asset marketplace and how cryptocurrency adoption is transpiring, it is being adopted at the fastest rate any technology in the history of the world has ever been adopted. It's being adopted faster, twice the speed that the internet was adopted at. So
well, we're going to save this one for
a later date. Exactly. I don't want to get bogged down, but I'm a crypto guy, and but to your point, I understand a lot of the things that you're saying there. So, but we will save that for another one. So, all right, on to number 3.
Okay, hold on one second.
I see. I have the same problem. I have a few of those little furry beasts. So I love them to death.
No, she's a wonderful cat. When we get to module 10, cashless society, that's when we'll,
we can go to town. Okay.
That's when we'll hammer this one. All right. Module 3. I like this one. This is examples of money from our past. We're all familiar with what we use as money, but let's talk about what other people have. The opening quote, it kind of fits, but I just like Thomas Jefferson, so I threw it in. It is incumbent on every generation to pay its own debts as it goes, a principle which, if acted on, would save 1/2 the wars of the world. Thomas Jefferson. So there's been all kinds of things used to facilitate an indirect transaction. And in this module, I break them up into different types. One is animals. The animal, their pelts, their furs. Another one, consumables, corn, spices, tobacco, and of course, whiskey. Couture, beads, blankets, clamshells, gemstones, silk, and then metals. Not only gold and silver, but bronze, copper, and iron. The one that struck me the most unusual is what the Incas used. Now, the Incas were known to have quite a civilization. And you think about where they built it, it's still in the middle of nowhere, but those buildings still stand. They're amazing. And they covered a huge area. They literally had tons of gold and silver, which the Spanish were thrilled to take. But they held gold and silver, I believe, in a special way. And they gave those metals interesting names. Translated, gold is referred to as the sweat of the sun, and silver, tears of the moon. But they didn't do their business with those metals. No, they used cacao beans, which means for the Incas, their money literally did grow on trees. And look at the civilization they built with cacao beans. So the takeaway on this, excuse me, if an item can peacefully help facilitate the transfer of ownership of a good, the benefit of a service from one person to another, it's money.
It's true. And the, you know, I mean, look at the Roman, what the Romans used. I mean, bronze and copper, you know, just, you know, bronze and copper. And if the government backs it up and says that this is what it's going to be used at, if it has the good faith of the government and people agree to it, then it's money. So, which I'm bouncing that off of you. Yes.
Yeah. Well, it's going back to the origin. For me, the origin of money came from people. Unfortunately, people became, over the eons, they felt they had to be controlled, or they allowed themselves to be controlled. And we're talking about monarchs, tyrants, dictators. And in all of that time, what was considered one of the foremost forms of money? Gold and silver. I don't think that makes it, it doesn't draw me to it. No. What I care about is, and again, this is from our history. If people will accept it, it's money. Now, when the people who first came to the East Coast way back in the 1600s, and they encountered the natives, and they wanted to trade with the natives, they didn't use gold or silver coins. They used what was called wampum. Wampum apparently is translated to mean white. Clamshells. They traded with the natives with clamshells. Why? Because it worked. It worked. So ultimately, it's not what money is, it's what it does. And if the society will accept it, then it works. Mm-hmm. And if I can go out to dinner at a really nice restaurant, and all I have is cash and coin on me, right? I don't even have a credit card. I don't have a check. I have cash and coin. And at the end of the evening, you know it's a really good restaurant because you pay at the end, not pay at the beginning before you get your food. I put a bunch of paper on a tray. They take it away, come back, give me some change, and I walk out, and there's no problem. That's real. I ate a meal, and I was allowed to leave because what I gave him was real. And the reason the seller takes the money is because the seller can turn around and use it as a buyer. It's its function that really matters to me, not what it is. Any other questions?
I don't see any. No questions at this point.
Oh, too bad. Okay. We're now switching to Module 4. The title of Module 4 is What is M1 Money Today in the USA? And it ain't no WW2 rifle or tank. Now I'm going to begin to use the term money in a specific way. And I'm now referring to M1, and we're going to talk about that.
Okay.
First the quote, and sorry about scratching my nose. My cat got me all itchy.
You're all right.
There you go. Okay. The process is the opening quote. The process by which banks create money is so simple that the mind is repelled. John K. Galbraith, 1975, from his book, Money, Whence It Came, Where It Went. My comment to this quote is that, as I found out through my study, the process by which banks create money is so simple. I absolutely agree. It is fundamentally simple and it's generally not known. My mind isn't repelled. My mind is amazed. It's attracted. The term is M1, capital M, number 1. What is it? M stands for money. 1 stands for the number 1 supply. There's an M1 supply, there's an M2, and there's an M3. We're going to deal with M1 because M1 money is considered spendable on demand now. What is M1 money? It's cash and coin in our hands or a business's hands in country, not the cash and coin that might be outside the US. It's traveler's checks issued by non-banks, which is de minimis. We won't even talk about it. And then the electronic digits in what are called demand deposit accounts, checking accounts. That's M1, because that money is considered spendable on demand now. And that's why that bank account, a checking account, is considered a demand deposit account, as in you can demand to get those funds out. Well, that's M1. Who has M1 money? Well, I have M1 money. Ron, you have M1 money. If you had a business, that would have M1 money. The definition is not real clear, but I will say that M1 money, and that's the cash and coin and electronic digits and checking accounts, not savings or other accounts, goes all the way up to the state level. That's where it stops. Now, Ron, I think you might agree, if you could go into one of your bank that you do business with, and you could go behind the counter and look into the teller drawers in the vault, you would see cash and coin. Is that correct?
I would, yes.
Okay. In the hands of a bank, is that M1 money?
No.
It's not. It's their reserves in physical form. Reserves and M1 money are different items of barter, mediums of exchange, different currencies. They look exactly the same, but it depends on who holds them. So banks have no M1 money. They only have reserves, physical and electronic. How about the federal government? Federal government have any money? No. Has no money. It only has reserves. And we're going to get into this later, but then there's the Fed. And when I say Fed, I'm talking about Federal Reserve banks, Federal Reserve System. The Fed has neither M1 money nor reserves. In fact, if you look at the balance sheet, and you can, every Federal Reserve Bank has an audited financial statement every year. I've looked at them for years. And they're audited by one of the big 4 national accounting firms. So when Dr. Paul and Dr. Paul say they want to audit the Fed, they don't mean financial statements. I think they mean operational. And there's also a pamphlet out there called the Financial Accounting Manual. This is the financial accounting manual for the Fed system. And in it, it has a very detailed chart of accounts. For those who don't know that term in bookkeeping, chart of accounts is a list of all the different accounts that an entity's accounting system has. And it always starts out with assets. And the asset classifications are always the most liquid going to the least liquid. Well, if we were looking at somebody's business, a retail shop, they'd have cash on hand, cash in bank account, whatever. No Fed bank, none of them, have a bank account in their own name. The first asset listed on the chart of accounts for the Fed is gold certificates, which is basically a receivable. The reason, and we're going to get into this in another module, the reason that the Fed has no need for a bank account is because it would never use it. It would never use it because it doesn't need to. The Fed creates reserves.
Mm.
Any questions on module 4?
Nope, no questions. Just another comment about Bitcoin. Don't know much about Bitcoin. You can see where people's minds are.
Well, hope they get here, because the thing is that this is today. This is our country's monetary system. And you can't truly know if it's working for you or against you if you don't understand its basics. And when I started my education, I didn't come into this with some preconceived idea of really good or really bad. I had no idea. I just stumbled around for years getting more and more information and figuring this out. All right, module 5. Module 5 is, what isn't M1 money today in the USA? The opening quote, I really like this one. There are 2 ways to conquer and enslave a nation. Just think about that phrase. Conquer and enslave. There are 2 ways to conquer and enslave a nation. One is by the sword. The other is by debt.
Mm-hmm.
John Adams. Think about, okay, John Adams and Thomas Jefferson died on the same day, God rest their souls, July 4, 1826. So you get an idea of how old this quote is and what he knew. Debt is our big problem. And when you understand how this monetary system is designed and functions, you'll understand why there is so much debt. So what isn't in M1 money? Well, all the electronic digits and savings accounts, retirement accounts, etc. We already talked about this. I kind of threw it in module 4. Banks and the federal government don't have money. They have reserves. The Fed has neither. So think about this. Only, let's say we the people, up to the state governments, but only we the people, have use hold money. Why aren't we in control of this system? Why do we allow banks? And I'm going to preface this that I'm not anti-bank. I'm not anti-bank people, bank buildings, bank. No, we need them. There's just one little thing that I want to change. But if people think, well, the system's not that bad, Alan, come on, it's working, it's functioning. Well, when your system, and it's our system, gives us inflation by design, the need for federal taxation, and an absolutely totally unpayable national debt, this is the trifecta of a terrible monetary system. It's not functioning well, because if it was, we wouldn't have these things. That is module 5.
Wow, was mowing through this. Yeah,
Okay.
I think you said 7, I think is what you said.
Yeah. Any questions for you?
Statement says, if I can't hold it, it's not real. Somebody said it, he said, if you can't hold it, it's not real.
Well, okay. Let's play with that for a minute.
Okay.
Can you hold Bitcoin? No. Can you hold electronic digits in your checking account? Not really. No. But can you use those electronic digits and pay for something? Yeah, it's called a check. Checks, not that many people use them anymore. Checks are not money per se. They're authorization given to someone, whoever you paid with the check, that they can, in essence, through the system, go to your bank and say, I want you to move these electronic digits from this account to another account. You can't hold that. And the check is really not money. It's just a form. It's an authorization, signed and dated authorization form to move money from one checking account into another bank account. So holding it, I mean, I like physical money. We need to have physical money, but just because you can't hold it, electronic digits, doesn't mean it isn't real, and doesn't mean it doesn't function. It functions very well. And, you know, way back in the day when money was, especially in Europe, gold and silver, and people got really, really tired of carrying that stuff around, they came up with, what did they do? They took their gold and silver to the jeweler who had the security to protect it, and they gave them little receipts, and they started using the receipts. It wasn't gold and silver, which was money. It was just a claim on the gold and silver. So to me, once again, money came originally, of course, from something very physical, which we talked about in module, was it 3? But just because you can't specifically hold it, which you cannot hold an electronic digit that's in your checking or savings account, retirement account, doesn't mean it can't function and help you complete a non-barter transaction.
Yep.
All right. So we're moving
Okay.
on.
Number
Moving
6.
on. Yeah, module 6.
Numero 6.
Who creates M1 money today in the USA? The opening quote, which goes along with the opening quote that we started the program with. Who controls the money controls the world.
Mm-hmm.
Henry Kissinger, around 1995, part of the Council on Foreign Relations. And we already talked about, if you control oil, you control nations. If you control food, you control people. And when you control the monetary system, you will control it all. Well, the question is, who creates M1 money? How often have you heard that someone is printing money, or that it's printed out of, or it comes into existence out of thin air? You ever heard that, Ron?
I have not.
You've never heard somebody say printing money?
Oh, thin air?
Well, printing money.
Well, yeah, okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, that is categorically incorrect. So I'm going to take you through the steps of how, and I wish I had one, but I don't have it with me. Yes, the first step of our dollar bill, the Federal Reserve note, it's printed.
Alan, hold on one second. I think somebody came in a little bit late, and they are asking what M1 money is, and I'm going to read number 1 of module 4. M1 money is money that individuals and their businesses spend to get the goods and services they want or need right now. Basically, M1 money is all the cash and coin we have in our pockets, purses, and wallets, and all the electronic digits in all of our checking accounts. The money that we, the people, have.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah, it's in money in our pockets, in our wallets, in our dresser drawers. That's considered in circulation in country. Any of that's outside the US is actually not part of M1. But those are the 3 main parts of what is considered M1, M being money, 1 being the number 1 supply. M2 includes savings. So how does a dollar bill, a Federal Reserve note, enter the M1 money supply? It's a 4-step process. The first step is it gets printed. And it's printed by the Bureau of Engraving and Printing, which is part of the Treasury. The part of the Fed that places the order is called the Cash Products Office. The Bureau prints it up. And let's say it prints It prints them, it cuts them, it looks at them, it stacks them, bundles them, sitting out there on the loading dock, waiting for a Federal Reserve Bank armored truck to come pick it up. You could have millions and millions of street value dollars sitting on that loading dock. To the Bureau, it's just a print job. It would be the same thing as if you went down to your local printer to pick up flyers and all your flyers are sitting on the counter. What is it to the printer? A print job. It's not money, it's nothing. Now, back in the day, the Bureau charged 6.4 cents a note, regardless of denomination. That has changed. It's now round numbers, depending on denomination of the bill, 5 to 13 cents. So I'll just use 10 cents for an average today. So all those bills to the Bureau, they're going to charge the Fed 10 cents a note. It's just a print job. Next stop, the Fed gets it, puts it in the armored truck, takes the armored truck to the bank. Now, this is interesting because I talked to a driver. The armored truck shows up, the big doors, steel doors roll up, the truck goes in, engine goes off, steel doors drop down, the entire armored truck goes down into the basement. They don't unload it on the street level. So they'll unload it, reverse the process, and the truck goes away. So now you have all these, and the same goes with the coin. You have all these Federal Reserve notes sitting in the vault of a Federal Reserve Bank. Now, I've seen video. This is one seriously guarded place. Every guy or gal guarding this area is total lock and load. And then you got all the electronics and you got the security doors and everything else. I mean, this is serious security. So in the vault, you could have billions and billions of what I call street value money. That means if it was on the street, this is what it'd be. What is it to the Fed sitting in their incredibly secure vault? Is it money? Is it part of the M1 money supply? Nope. Is it reserves? No. It gets treated in their accounting as nothing more than a printing expense. It gets the same bookkeeping treatment as repair and maintenance, office supplies, postage. That's all it is. It's just a regular operating expense. We've gone 2 steps. Those bills are still not part of the M1 money supply. Next step, I'm the Fed. Ron, you're the Bank of Ron. You give me a call. Alan?
I like that sound, the Bank of Ron.
There you go.
I like that.
So you're the Bank of Ron. You say, hey, send me my regular order. Okay, fine. And I know what your regular order is for Federal Reserve notes. And I send them to you via armored truck, of course. You get them. What do I do, the Fed? Well, I have to reduce your reserve account, which is like a bank account, but it's for reserves, by the amount I sent you. And I credit it. And to reduce that account, because it's a liability, I debit it. The offset is a credit to an account called Federal Reserve Notes Outstanding. People think that this is some kind of liability on the Fed books, but they completely misunderstand it, and we'll get into it later. All I've done, and on your books, you're going to reduce your Federal Reserve account balance, and you're going to increase cash on hand. So you've just moved digits from one asset to another. So in your hands, Ron, Bank of Ron, all that cash I sent you is nothing but your reserves in physical form. Finally, I happen to also bank at the Bank of Ron, and I go up to an ATM.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
By the way, thank you.
I've been a customer for a long time.
I love it. And I every time you do that, I make a little bit of money.
Yes, well, not today. So I go up to the ATM and I draw out 100. In that moment in time, when I get those 520s out of the ATM, I am now holding M1 money physical cash. My checking account, which got reduced, M1 electronic digits, got reduced. My total money supply has not changed. It's just changed form. It takes those 4 steps for that printed bill to become money, M1 money. Until they are completed, it's not money. To the Bureau, it's a print job. To the Fed, it's a printing expense. To the Bank of Ron, it's reserves in physical form, which is reserves not being money. Only when I take it out and I give up electronic digits of M1 does it become M1 cash, M1 physical money.
In that respect, see, this is why I think this is one of the reasons why people are gravitating towards the digital asset cryptocurrency markets, because they have been phased into using cashless stuff over the last 20, 30 years. I mean, when they started when they started attaching a debit card with a MasterCard or a Visa logo on your bank account, and you could actually spend that online or whatever, back in the mid 90s, we've been using cashless money now for 25, 30 years.
Yeah. I mean, I have no problem with.
Hear me, Alan. I'm not saying that I'm not picking at you on the cryptocurrency thing.
No.
I'm just simply saying people don't understand that we have already essentially migrated to a digital asset or a digital currency world. And I mean, there are a lot of places now that we refuse to accept cash. It's like you can walk in there with cash and they won't even take it. They said, no, it has to be digital.
Yeah. And I don't frequent those places anymore. I have no problem with electronic digit money. I really don't. The thing that's missing in the conversation, and we'll get to next week, is that you can tell me something is wonderful. Okay, great. Any side effects? Yeah. Our current monetary system gives us 3 absolutely severe side effects: inflation, federal taxation, and federal debt.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if someone, excuse me, cat itchy nose, if someone is saying, we got a new form of money, this is fantastic, great. Tell me how your solution for a new, better money is getting rid of inflation, federal taxation, and federal debt. Because if the solution doesn't even address the existence of the problems, you don't have a solution. Now, we're going to be getting into, I can do this.
You want to do module 7?
No, I kind of want to finish. I'm not quite finished with this.
So we'll wrap up with 6 then? Okay.
Now, well, I'll tell you what, let me touch briefly on module 7 since we're here. And then we can kind of begin in this area next time. Module 7 is, what is a Federal Reserve note? Well, the opening quote, who controls the past controls the future. Who controls the present controls the past. George Orwell.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. The Federal Reserve note, cash, we call it paper. It's actually 75% cotton, 25% linen, which means if it didn't have that ink, it'd be a nice shirt. We already talked about that. It's the only thing that has legal tender on it, but there is no, as I said, there's no federal statute mandating that a private business, a person or organization must accept currency or coin as payment for goods and services. So what the HE double hockey sticks does legal tender mean?
Alan, I have a question here. So our bank accounts, my reserve until you choose to have them M1?
Say that again.
Okay, I think what she's asking is that if I'm holding my money I don't think so. Deborah, I don't think so. If you have money in your bank account, it is considered M1 money. If money is in your bank account, it is available for you to spend, and it is considered M1. If the money is in the bank and it doesn't belong to anybody except for the bank, that is when it is a reserve.
Yes. What the bank holds as cash and coin is their reserves in physical form. If I was going to go into the Bank of Ron and deposit $50 of cash into my checking account, at the moment I hold the 50, that's part of my M1 physical money supply. As soon as I give it to your teller, my M1 physical money, cash, just decreased. My M1 ED, electronic digit balance, just increased. So my money supply is the same. In the hands of the Bank of Ron, that $50 just became part of your physical reserves. So
Does that answer your question, Deborah? There's a little bit of a lag. I'm going to assume
no
it
worries.
did, and she can respond.
Okay.
If it didn't.
I think this is, we're almost done. I think this is a good place to end. The idea is that people use the term money across the board. They talk about what we have. They talk about what banks have, what government has. This idea that it's printed, that, somebody's printing too much money. That's why I went through the 4 steps. The printing is only the first step of 4 that bill has to take before it can become part of the M1 money supply. The moment it's printed, it's not money. As I said, in the hands of the Bureau, it's just a print job. It's nothing.
Mhm.
So understanding, this is absolutely basic, fundamental, but the thing is, this is not in our education.
Yes.
Which is not good.
Alan, would you be able to sum up in a minute, maybe a minute and a half, why understanding the monetary supply is so critical?
Yes. Understanding what money is, who has it, what it isn't, who doesn't have it, is to understand our system. Because when we finally get to module 16, you're going to see exactly how money is created. That means the supply is increased. How it's extinguished. That means the supply is decreased. Understanding that it is we, the people, that have money, not banks, not government, not the Fed. All this is basic information to better understand why we have the problems we have in our system, which is inflation, taxation, and federal debt. These are monumental problems that can only be fixed when we make one simple change. And that's what we're going to get to in 16. But the problem is, people use the term money in a very loose, general way. And at this point, I use it very specifically. And they don't acknowledge that different groups, banks, the government, the Fed, they don't have money, but they're controlling what we have.
It's kind of like how people just loosely use the word friend. They meet somebody. Oh, I just talked to my friend over there. Oh yeah, that's your friend. I think it's important to define the terms and use them. And I think what you're doing here is right. Defining what the M1 and M2, and I think these are very important, critical things that we need to understand so that we can truly have a grasp about the money supply and where it comes from and who's in control of it, and just for all the reasons that you laid out in here. So on that note, Alan, it's a hair after 4, and I apologize. I have to go because I've got a tight schedule today. So I hope you guys all got something from this. And next week we're going to do number 2, and then we're going to follow it up with the following Tuesday with number 3. So again, you can find Alan's work at feded.us. Feded.us. It's under his link is in the description. And any last words, Alan, you want to?
No, thank you truly for the opportunity to be on with you and to discuss this. And to your point about misusing terms, it would be like me coming to you and saying, Ron, I want to sell you a motor vehicle. Okay, Alan, 2-door, 4-door, truck, motorcycle, scooter. What do we got here? There's times to be general, but
And there's times to be concise.
absolutely. And it's also to see that the 3 things that are accepted, I'll close with this. The 3 things that are always accepted in the media: inflation, federal taxation, and an ever increasing federal debt. Where's the pushback? This is wrong. I mean, if you went to your monetary system doctor with these symptoms, okay, they put you in ICU.
if not hospice.
I was hoping for a cure, but yeah, if you wouldn't accept the cure, you're going into hospice. Absolutely.
Exactly. All right, guys. Hey, thanks a lot for being here. Apologize I wasn't here last week, but I will be here next week, Lord willing, and I look forward to seeing y'all then. So take care, and don't forget, Scott's actually got Patel Patriot on tonight. So if you're going to leave me, go over and listen to Scott and Patel Patriot. Patel Patriot is the guy who's doing all the work on devolution, and his work is fantastic. Cannot recommend it highly enough. So thank you very much, Alan. Look forward to seeing you again next week, and we'll see you next week.